Well, here we go. We're in the first week of Biden's administration. It looks like it's going to be a good thing. Um, I'm waiting for the whack job Republicans, the ones that still don't believe that Trump lost, to start opening their mouths. I heard that Senator Romney this morning decided that it wouldn't be a good idea to censure Cruz and Hawkins, although I think it would be a good idea if they took him out and dragged him into the street. But you know, what do I know? I hate politicians, no matter what they say or do. Um, I think we can start, weeding ourselves away from the political discussions that we have here. I don't think it's necessary for me to sit here and bitch and moan about that. There are a lot more really, really important things going on in the world. One of them, of course, is human trafficking. And, every time somebody hears that, they say they think of kids or women. And depending on where in the world you are, it's everybody. Nobody's safe unless you're 80 years old. And even then, there's some whack job that wants an 80-year-old mama figure in his house or something. Human trafficking has been going on as long as there's been people. It's the what's the what is the phrase I'm looking for? So the strong survive. They influence the weak. They control the weak, and that's what it is. You're moving people around. They use all sorts of things, fear, drugs, whatever you want, to make them do what they want to do. They'll transport them to a country, transport women to a country and say, you're going to be a prostitute. If you don't, we're going to go back and kill all your family. It's like, do you remember, if any of you watched The Hunger Games, the movie, there's a scene in there where the hero, which I can't remember her name right now, so don't, hope you've seen the movie. Anyhow, the heroine becomes a heroine because her sister is being chosen to go and fight in these Hunger Games, and she takes her place, and that's a form of human trafficking that was going on. Where they would take kids and force them to kill each other to see who got the food and whatnot. There's so many stories out there. I have a very good friend of mine. There's an author, Joseph Lewis. You can look him up. He's got a few books out there. They do real well, not unlike mine. And his pet peeve is human trafficking, especially children. Child abuse and human trafficking. Those are, with children. That's where he focuses his attention. And his books are written about that subject. They're not. What's the term? They're not nonfiction. They're fiction, and they're really, really good. And if you get a chance, look him up on Amazon and check his books out. The thing about human trafficking is that they don't care. I think, depending where you are in the United States, your familiarity with it might not be that great. If you're along the Mexican border, you're thinking of the Mexicans that they bring back. They call it so-called wetbacks that they bring across the border to work the farmlands and whatnot in slave-like conditions. Well, they take them both directions. They take American women to Mexico to work as prostitutes for the rich, for the gang lords, because they love American women. They watch the movies. They think they're sexy as hell. I wish them luck with that. But there's no safe, scenario. One of the things that seems to surprise a lot of people is to the extent that the child abuse, if you want to call it that, is prevalent in this country. I can tell you from my youth, okay, it was an accepted behavior to take you out and whip you in public with a belt, okay? That was accepted behavior back in those days. That's not that many years ago. It's 60, 70 years. It's 60 years ago. It's not that, it's not considered a long time. But you missing children seem to, for some reason, they a lot of them don't even get reported, and you hear stories of parents in America. You don't think of this happening, selling their children to pay off a debt of some sort or whatever. I mean, and you remember that if you read history, that was a servitude, that they would do that back in the Revolutionary War. Poor people would give their sons to a ship captain or a farmer or something like that to work, to pay, so that they would get rid of a debt, or they could have food or something. They would get paid for food, with food for life or whatever. It's a very it's still a practice that goes on, and that surprises a lot of people. The extent that a child pornography ring and the people that are involved in it, that was a big thing in the election. The Republicans were sitting around claiming, the QAnon, I think it is, were the ones that were doing it, said that there was a pizza shop in Washington, D.C. that was run by the dark state, which was like Hillary Clinton and I forget who else they said was involved in it. Child pornography ring operating out of a pizza place. And wow, there might be a child pornography ring running out of a pizza place, but I don't see Hillary Clinton doing it. I could see her, hooking up with never mind. Anyhow, the extent to which this is done, and I've always had this image in my head that I can't comprehend. This big fat guy, 230 pounds, 40 pounds, with this little, 8-year-old girl, and they're having sex. I can't fathom that. I mean, it just doesn't enter my mind. I will tell you that from the child pornography point of view, that they did an interview, or I think it was in the paper. I think it was like something like the Post, or what was the other paper that was around that was like the Post? The Journal, I think it was, or something like that. Anyhow, they wrote this. They did this interview with this guy in prison. He was called. He was a rooftop pedophile, they said, or a rooftop child rapist, something like that. But anyhow, they interviewed him in prison. Big, fat, ugly guy. And this is where, I began to get this very strange. I couldn't get this image out of my head for a long time. But the thing was, they interviewed him, and he said, I should never get out of prison. This isn't a treatable condition. If I am released, I will do it again. I can't help myself. It's a compulsion. It's a way of life. It's like a rapist. A rapist can't help themselves. It takes sex beyond what you and I think of, and it takes it to a huge compulsion. With children, it's just... I mean, I've never gotten turned on by a 12-year-old in my life. Unless I was 12 years old. As an adult, I've never been turned on by that. I get turned on by, 50-year-old ladies and, that have great bodies and string bikinis. Yeah, hey, hello. But a child, no. And the sad part about all of this is that I love kids. I like to talk to kids because I learn stuff. It sounds stupid, but it keeps me young and I learn things. And there's several young girls in this building I live in that are very friendly, and they talk to you, mostly about my dog, Antonia, and they talk mostly about Antonia. And I'm very leery of how long I talk to them and where I have these conversations. I either have them outside their apartment with their mother present, or I have them outside in public where everybody can see me. I've seen too much, where it's reached a point where so much suspicion can be generated that I'm really afraid to enjoy my life, enjoy the company of children, not children, but young people. Antonio likes the real young kids. She takes care of the babies. I don't say anything. I just let her go over and lick their faces and let them feed her. The rest of the time, I deal mostly with the teenagers, because they're the ones that are beginning to learn and decide what they want to do in life. And it's interesting to hear the reasons why they want to do things. Do they have an opinion of what's going on in the world or the country, or not, And I like the ones that don't, because their parents keep them away from all that stuff. That's a great thing, man, because you don't need to know that shit at that age, 10, 12, 13, 14. You don't need to know the crap that's going on in the world. Keep that little innocence with you for a while. But there are a lot of organizations out there that deal with this human trafficking, and it covers all ages, all sexes, and colors, and everything like that. We need to start paying attention to this. I mean, this is something that can doom our society. I think the thing that bothers me the most is there have to be, for this to exist to the extent that it does, there has to be politicians, leaders involved in it. I mean, look. They haven't been able to stop it in the Catholic Church. Pedophile rings in the Catholic Church. I mean, that didn't surprise me, because I knew of a couple of incidents or something like that. I just didn't know how extensive it was, But I know of a couple of priests that were acting very suspiciously when I was much younger, and I always thought there was something screwy going on, but they were all arrested, and they're older in life. But how many kids do they affect, and how do those kids affect other people? When you take a child and you take a person of authority, now in this country, with the way they feel about the priests and everything, and how they're revered and whatnot, you take a child and put a priest, somebody like that's not got their best interests at heart, and you put that child in that person's custody, they won't say anything, because there's an element of fear. If you say something, you'll go to hell or whatever. This is sort of like they're entitled to this. You don't know what they're using to make them do this, what reasoning they're doing. But I don't think that letting the church handle that's the right way to do it. I think that these people need to go to jail and be defrocked and sent to jail. Or worse, stone them, whatever it takes. This is just a disgrace. But it's people in a position of authority that appear to be the most dangerous, and that person can be a social worker, a babysitter, anybody that's put in charge of a child, and basically the parents giving permission to this person to supervise their child or control their child and direct the child's behavior, and the child is afraid to tell their parents for whatever the reasons are. Okay, I think it's just it's a horrible situation. I'm not. Will we stop it? I sure hope so. People like to blame it on gay people. Gay people, for the most part, the ones that I know are as far from child abusers as you can possibly get. Human trafficking is something that destroys their lives. They're not involved in it at any level. They didn't become gay because they were trafficked. They didn't become gay because a priest raped them or something like that. That was always in them. Anyhow, look, depressing thoughts today, huh? We should be celebrating, Biden's victory and whatnot. A lot of work ahead for that man. Hope he does well. Anyhow, I'm gone. I'll catch you during the week. Ciao.